Hi everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth in Story, and I'm going to do a quick Deste video. Now I know that a lot of people don't have this deck. It is only something that you can get from Greece or Turkey, so they're not exactly hard to get a hold of. It's just, it takes a while to get them. It took mine about a month, I would say, a solid month to come from Turkey. I purchased it through Amazon, but like through a Turkish seller, because I did get the Turkish version, which has the non-reversible backs, which was important for me personally, because I don't want my brain to be trying, although you really can't do that because some reverses are actually positive. They're not all like negative just because they're reversed. But regardless, I thought that would be good for me to have since I don't generally use reversals, I did want the backs. The Greek version does not have reversible backs, you can definitely tell. It just has this figure of Katina in a single version on the top. I've been meaning to do this and just haven't gotten around to doing it. So today I did sit down and kind of collate because I had pages. There is a Facebook group that has lots of translations and things like that. I mostly went off of Chris's English translations, as well as again I have another friend who is Greek, who she kind of, we talked about a lot of the cards as well, and I made notes on that. And then there's one other, for the actual spread, there's one other YouTube channel, which I will put a link to as well, that goes through the spread, the main spread quite a bit. And so I kind of compiled things a little bit between those. So yeah, so I put together, like what I do with Lenormand or anything else, I love making worksheets. It really helps me have everything in a concise form, and then once I have it for what I want the information to be in concise form, I just figure why not put it out there, because that's going to help somebody else. So I have a breakdown. So we have the Deste keywords, both upright and reversed, and I have those. So the first page has the goddesses Atart and Valide. I'm sure again, please ignore my pronunciations. We have the 4 spirits, which are elemental spirits that give you advice at the end of the reading. I have the 4 element or gem cards here. I have the 4 horses. So this is really based on the kind of focusing on the elemental aspect, the first page does. And for I have, where appropriate, I have actually added the Turkish, or at least from the Turkish deck. I don't know if the names of the cards are the same across the Greek and the Turkish decks. I kind of feel like they are, but I don't know that for sure. So for example, I have ebony, Abanez, and then earth, or ruby, yakut, and fire, just so that sometimes you'll see what's actually on the card, and maybe you forget what it is. That way you can kind of touch bases with it. So that's all in one page. And then the second page has the court, the princesses, the queens, the princes, and the kings, because those are really helpful. There's a lot of worksheets on working with the court cards. A lot of people have difficulty with the court cards, both in tarot and also in Deste, because you think, there's so many people, like how do you deal with these if they're clearly not people given the question or whatever. I've never had a big issue with that, because I just kind of, what is the essence of that personality or that person, and then how would that translate in terms of the question, or what's involved, or that person itself, if it's just an aspect of the person, those kinds of things. So I just kind of approach it the same way that I do tarot court cards. I've not really had any difficulties with it. I think of court cards as sort of the way that energy moves. So if the if the energy is fire, then the king and the queen and the prince and the princess are simply ways when they're not people, because it can sometimes be people in things like Deste, or even Kipper with all of the people and Kipper cards. I do the same thing with that, so that it doesn't have the energy, but I just kind of take, what is that energy? How is that energy moving? I love how the Marielle Tarot talks about the court cards, where you have the pages as initiating, and the knights as questing, and the queens as building the environment, and then the king as sort of controlling. And so you have that energy, and so you kind of think about what is the energy. So if it's fire, and then you think of how is that energy moving in within that suit. And so, you know, the same thing with this deck. You know, there can be very specific, like this is a somebody who is a liar. Well, okay, it's not really about lying, but how are we deceiving ourselves? How are we fooling ourselves into thinking something that is not really helpful? Like, there's just ways to take those personifications, because that's what the court cards are, personifications of energy. How do we take that and apply it to the question? But anyway, so the court is on here. Then it goes into the core cards, and so I have the core cards upright and reversed, and they're in alphabetical order by English, but I do have the Turkish, I believe it's the Turkish word that is on the names of the cards. Again, just so that if I get one that for some reason I'm like, is that clouds? You know, I can check and double check. You know, I can double check that. So I do have that as well. And then the upright and the reversed of the meanings. And that goes into the 4th page. And then I have the information on how you pick significators, which is kind of by hair color, as well as signs. So, for example, diamonds are air, so that would be for somebody who has blonde hair, or somebody who's one of the air signs, Libra, Aquarius, or Gemini, and so on and so forth. And then you use a prince or a princess if they're under 40, and a king and a queen if they're over 40. I've also heard 35, but I just kind of put that standard there. And then I have the actual Tanridna spread, which is the main spread. It would be equivalent to the Grand Tableau for Lenormand. It's just the main spread for this system. So I have it lined out in how you would lay them, numbered, and then some basic information about how you read it also underneath there. Again, it's just really concise information, because it's just kind of condensed down of basic information for myself to have quick access to if I want to double check something, and then again for somebody who may be learning and want that kind of condensed information in one place. But I did want to quickly show you, so that I just didn't show you that and no fun out of it at all. I did want to show you a quick spread that can be used for Lenormand. I've seen it actually mostly for Lenormand. Somewhere I saw somebody do it. I thought it was Chris for Deste, but I couldn't find it. I couldn't find the video, so I could be wrong about that. But I've used this and I quite like this as a shorter reading, but a little bit more information than a 9 card. So I've taken out my significator card because Deste uses significator cards, and so I use Urmia which is the Queen of Rubies or Fire, and she has red hair, and I just quite am drawn to her. So this is who I use for my own personal significator. It's not going to get shuffled in. And then of course I have the 4 spirits set out, because these are advice cards that you pull at the end of any Deste reading. So those are set aside. This is the beautiful stone, gorgeous blue stone that sits on my Deste deck, but this does use reversals, and so when I shuffle for I table shuffle. So, and most of the videos, I have to say, that I've seen with Deste tend to do this kind of table shuffle. So I'm just going to do a quick, what is it that I need to know right now kind of spread. Just a general spread about, what is it that I need to be aware of, what do I need to know kind of thing, just to show you this spread. So it's like a mini Grand Tableau. You're not using as many cards. It's really great for Lenormand, and it is also great for Deste. pull these all together so we have a really great mix of reversals. And then I'm going to place my significator card back into play. As always, I'm going to build the cross around. So we have one, and I'm going to scooch this up because it's going to be a little bit of a tight fit on my screen, but we'll see what we can do here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, that's wonderful to get a tart to show up. She is the goddess of light. So I love that that's showing up. And then this would be obviously a basic 9 card reading, but I'm going to do one more layer. And so for Lenormand, this would be a 5 by 3, plus we're going to have 3 essence cards at the bottom. And I'll show you why I particularly like this for Deste in 1 minute. So there's our basic, and then I'm going to go ahead and put 3 cards at the bottom as a sort of message, like the essence cards of Lenormand. So this would be a 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18 card spread versus a 36 card Grand Tableau. So this is called a Petit Tableau. Or for Deste, the full size is 27 cards, I want to say, 26 cards plus the last one is a 27th, yeah. So it just kind of reduces it down. You don't have quite so many cards to work with. I am still going to go ahead and put the kind of outcome card over the middle just because it's just traditional. This isn't probably traditional anyway, although in the Deste book they even have the Celtic cross, so it's not, but I really like this, and I'm going to show you one of the reasons that I don't shuffle my Deste cards in case I want to add extra information on. Although generally, to be honest, I'm finding when I am going to, let's say I want more information about a card, I do tend to shuffle for that particular card and then draw, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But let me show you really quickly. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this very well. But this is a traditional Tanridna spread, which is 26 cards, and then your 27th card being this over the top. Now, you read your 9 card in a specific way, but what's important here is that the very last 3 cards in this column here is significant past event, and this is a significant future information you need to know for the future, right? So how I read this is the way that I would generally do a Deste 9 card, which has kind of thoughts and feelings, hopes and fears, important past and future right here. And so on and so forth, how I would normally read a Deste 9 card, but I have a significant past here and a significant future information or event, depending on how you're reading it. I'm just going for information. So for me, this would be significant information I need to know moving forward. This would be significant past information that I need to be aware is still impacting me right now. And then I have this sort of message at the bottom, just as sort of an essence message. So again, you can do this exact same thing with Lenormand, where you would have your essence cards at the bottom. You would have your middle card, which is the middle of a, if you don't choose a significator, that would be your key information. If you do choose like the person card, then it would be this card would be your significator. You would have your corners. You would probably take these 2 cards as your, for instead of just one for For a 9 card, you would take these 2 instead of the 3 for a full grand tableau. And you would read it much like you would read. It just gives you a little bit more cards than a 9 card. You still get your essence cards and things of that nature. So try this out. If you read Lenormand, try this out as well. But it works really lovely also for Deste. So I wanted to, you know, again, I didn't want to just come on and do just show you the worksheet. So I thought I'd go ahead and show you this reading because I quite like this. So with Deste, these 2 cards are traditionally really key. I really see these 3 cards as key, but I always look to the above and the below cards, because this is what are under our feet, right? This is right underneath my feet. This is what's foundational. This is what is, you know, really going on for me, would be more of a mental aspect of what's going on. And I do have an element cards. I have 2 element cards. Element cards are important in Deste. And so here I have the diamond element that is reversed. So this lets me know just in terms of resources, and that doesn't mean just money and wealth, but it also means emotions and things of that nature also. Just resources, energy resources, just resources in general. And this is reversed, so it's still there in this particular card. The resources, the wealth of emotions are still there, but it is not as much. And this makes sense to me because I've kind of, one of the reasons I really want to do a spread is I've kind of had a series of difficult dreams and things like that, and I definitely feel like sort of at a low point. Just kind of how I usually feel on new moons, where I kind of energetically feel quite low. I do go into a bit of hermity phases, and I kind of am coming out of that. So this certainly makes sense to me. And then when we look over here to what's at my feet, we have the Opium card, which is not a card that we have in Lenormand. Some cards are similar, but we don't have that. But when this is reversed, this is because it is in reverse, and this is when you're kind of escaping. You're using escapism. So the traditional thing might be about drugs and alcohol, and aka opium. So in upright, it's about needing time to think, doing something different, you know, just so that you can get over a situation. But when it gets in reverse, you're doing that in excess. So it would be like using drugs and alcohol or opium to escape from a situation. Well, there's many ways in which we escape from situations. Reading books, as much as I love reading books, can sometimes be a form of escapism. You know, binge watching, you know, 3 seasons of a particular television show can be escapism. Game playing for me. Gaming is a part of my life on a natural balance level, but it can become imbalanced, right? If I'm trying to, you know, just kind of being my hermit self and getting, just kind of burying myself so that I don't have to think or figure out, you know, deal with whatever the situation is so that I can move forward. So that's an indication. Again, this to me is quite relevant, although I'm kind of at the end of that little splurt of a phase. And I think that those kind of ebbs and flows happen in all of us, and they're okay as long as they don't go on too long. And I tend to be pretty good about saying, okay, you can be a hermit for, you know, a weekend, or at most you can be a hermit for a week, but then you've got to start coming out and kind of shaking things off and figuring out how you're going to move forward. So these are very reflective of my situation. So, which I find Deste, like Lenormand, to be quite accurate. But we do have, moving forward, you know, in the immediate future here, we do have the clouds, and the clouds upright in Deste mean that things are going to be clearing up, I already feel that energy coming on. So we have that sense of things are going to be clearing. You know, the sun is starting to shine, that kind of feeling. And so that for me is quite, again, appropriate and accurate to the situation. So those cards, you know, I always look at first. When you look up here, These are your thoughts and your feelings. This is sort of the as above, so below. These are hopes and fears, and these are thoughts and feelings. They can be specific events as well, but I'm just kind of keeping this general. You know, it depends on what the question is, obviously. But even then, it's just these are that's kind of a general how you read this. The fish is a warning sign. So this is a warning that my resources are low, which certainly makes sense. I need to be aware of that. You always need to be aware of your energy levels and that kind of thing. That's very important. So this is a warning of that. But again, we have it moving towards the key, which is successful, right? This is opening doors to success. This is even successfully navigating relationship issues. They pull the relationships in. I tend to, I admit, read this a little bit more strictly Lenormand. This is about success. So yes, this is a warning that my energy level is low, but my resources low. Things are low right now, but it's moving towards success. We're moving towards the clouds clearing up. So we can definitely see that flow up there. And so that is, you know, that's good for me to see. I felt that energetically anyways, but this just kind of confirms it. Now, down here in the hopes and fears, we have a Tart. Now, a Tart, you can't get anything better than that. She is the goddess. She is the Mother Earth. She is Gaia. She is abundance. She is love and happiness. She is all those things, you know, that you equate with Mother Earth or with Gaia or with the Empress, that kind of energy. And so to have her show up is a wonderful thing. Definitely would be a hope. You know, you want to get into that sense of fulfillment. You want those things. And you don't want to be stuck in this kind of escapist, kind of not really dealing with with your whatever situations are. Multiple, just life in general. You don't want to be dealing with it by escaping it. You want to be putting forth your best effort, because this is the end goal, is to be, you know, kind of that wonderful, fulfilling life. So that's wonderful to have her show. I've never had her show up in a reading for me yet, so I quite am happy to see that. So here we have one of the court cards, and we have on any of the court cards we have their elemental sign here, and this is the sign for emerald, which is water. And so that tells us that this, and I have put myself a gold dot on cards that are the kings and the queens. I don't know if you can see this, but here's a little gold dot, because I'm not always remembering who is the king or the queen, because I don't always look older or younger. The images don't. This does not have a dot, so this lets me know that this is the Prince of Water. And so or emerald. So emerald is associated with water. And so he is in reverse, and this is about, so in upright, he is the charmer, the lover, the seducer. He is really good at communicating and things like that. And so in reverse, now traditionally the key word with this would be somebody that's betraying you, that kind of thing. Again, I don't use all of the court people as specific people. It gets to be really excessive. Sometimes, just depending on the question, there really aren't that many people. And so I use it energetically. So when I see this in reverse, that's miscommunication. That's not communicating. This is about worrying about people betraying you, or, you know, are they going to be true to you, that kind of thing. So that can be, can be a concern. And so I would take those as concerns, but then because I have a Tart here, there's that message, it's all going to work out, which is an overwhelming, you know, message that I'm getting here. So that's kind of the first thing. You can also look to the past here, and so here we have the Tower card, right? And so this is upright. So this is about strength. This is about power. This is about you've built something, like you've built this tower, and this is there. That's kind of, it's kind of a reminder that says, look, you've really built something here. You've really done a lot of work rebuilding this kind of new life that you're living in right now. And so that's there. And so there's that reminder that you've built that. And so rest on that, because, you know, clouds are parting, that kind of thing. Sun is shining, things are coming out. So that's kind of how I would look at that 9 card. That's in the middle. Of course, you know, there's a lot more things that you can kind of look to, but I'm just giving you that sort of key element. And then I would personally look at these 3 cards as the last 3 cards if I was doing a full Deste spread. And so in Deste, your main event or feeling or situation is here in the middle, the center row here, and then the card that is above it influences this, and this gives hidden influences or more details as a card under it. But this is kind of, you always key on the center row first. And so here I have the element of fire, or the ruby element that is here, and it is upright. So here we have, this is about love, it's about relationships, passion, it's 100% happiness. I think it was Chris, somebody made note because I wrote it down. I think it was Chris. You know, the upright, it's 100%. Reverse, it's 50%. You know, there may be one person doing more in a relationship than the other and that kind of thing. But this is 100% happy and love and all that kind of stuff. And this is coming in the future, right? So this is the King of Ebony. And so this is an unhelpful situation and or person. So there could be, even though I have this, so this is good. This is a very positive thing that I have, you know, love and happiness and passion. That's all coming in the future. And this is the next kind of significant future that I need to know about. But it's kind of a warning that says, you know, there can be unhelpful people, or there could be an unhelpful circumstance that may influence this, but this is still here. Like, we don't negate this. It's still here, but I need to be aware that there can be people that are not very helpful. There can be situations that are not helpful to you know, good relationships and good, you know, happiness and joy and passion and love and all these kinds of things, and you need to be aware of that. And so I always kind of take that into account, especially as this isn't a specific question. Underneath we have the letter card that is in the upright position, and so this is good news that's coming. This is a positive message, and this is underlying influencing this sense of 100% of happiness and joy and passion and love, because there's something good. There's a message coming from afar. This is there isn't a rider here specifically. The letter functions sort of as that ridery, lettery kind of thing in Lenormand in its upright position. And so there is some good news coming. There's positive things that are coming from afar that's going to make me happy. I just need to be aware that there could be some unhelpful situations that could influence that, and that way I can be prepared to circumvent those, right? So that's what I would look at in the future. In the past three, we have the dervish. So this is the past things that might be impacting me. And here we have the dervish, which is one of my favorite cards in the deck. This is sort of a priest card in a way, which you don't generally obviously get in Lenormand. It's the wise man. It's your guides. It's about learning the truth in things. And so in reverse, you know, it makes sense if you take that in reverse. You have people who are not wise, so to speak, somebody that isn't knowledgeable, or mistakes. This can be mistakes that have been made because you haven't learned the truth. You don't know the truth about something, and so mistakes were made. And so, you know, that has an impact on where I am currently. So it's always good to be aware of what is impacting you in the past so that you can kind of deal with that and move it on. Okay, there were some mistakes made out of lack of knowledge or lack of knowing the truth about someone. It can be a person because of a dervish, or it can just be in general. There were mistakes that were made, and that's okay. That's time to leave that in the past, because you still built something very strong. So you would kind of look at it that way. We have the house in reverse as well as being part of this, because obviously mistakes were made that would have obviously made your environment negative, which is basically what that would mean. So the mistakes that were made, trusting somebody maybe that wasn't trustworthy, believing somebody maybe who wasn't trustworthy, that kind of mistake made the environment not so wonderful. But the camel is under here in the hidden influences, we have the Camel card, and that is perseverance. That's the perseverance. That is enduring across, going across the desert and enduring it. So there is that sense that there were problems in the past, but I persevered, I endured through it, and I still built something strong. So that makes complete sense to me. Not that I'm going to go into all, personal things, but that makes sense to me, and that's having that line to know, okay, what is that important thing in the past that we need to know about whatever it is we're looking at now. That's why I kind of like this condensed spread like this. And then we have our 3 kind of essence cards here. And so we can see that we have 2 kings that are in reversed, as well as the anchor card. The anchor card is all about stability, long-term stability. It can be relationships, it can be work, it can be many different things, but it is long-term stability, and it is upright. So that's obviously, stability is an important thing for most of us, something that we're looking to get. We do have the King of Ruby that is reversed, which can be negative. The upright King of Rubies is one of these kind of people who needs their own space and time. I'm like that. So I tend to go into hermit mode sometimes. So I see this in reversed as maybe taking that too far. Because there's one thing about stepping back and having your own space, but it can go into isolation and withdrawal. And that's certainly something that is a pattern for me across the years. I am somebody who needs space and time. I need time to step back at times, but there's always that line where you're doing it too long, and then that becomes isolating in these kinds of more negative aspects. So instabilities in sense of moving forward with a stable life and moving into this happiness and this full happiness and joy, I need to make sure that my step back times, which are perfectly okay and healthy, don't become too far back. So that's a good message for me. And then we also have the King of Diamonds, which is reversed. And this is about, so in upright, this is an organized person. This is a sensitive person. This is knowing what you want and going for it. In reverse, though, this is about being unorganized and depressed. And I definitely have come through a period of unorganization that I started already to pull back into focus, which has been part of my moving forward, and so that's a good thing. So it's almost like, okay, what you're looking for is stability, long-term stability, moving you towards this great joy and happiness here. And so in order to do that, keep yourself organized, because I don't do well under disorganization. Just in my mental space and in my physical space, I need the organization to be maintained, as well as taking my time for myself, but not taking so much time that I'm isolating myself. So it's almost like a recipe for maintaining stability and moving towards this future, and that is looking wonderful. So there is an example of how in Deste I would, we can't be finished with it yet, right? We have the sun in reverse here, and so this to me, because the sun is everything that you would think of it as happiness, because we have this as the essence cards, the way that the message that would come for me on this would be to say, this is where you're headed. This is where the clouds, everything is going in this direction. Stability, this is what you want. If you can take care of these 2 things, this is kind of that for me. It says, okay, if you don't get if you don't listen to the message, because Deste, like Lenormand, is very bossy. If you don't, this is kind of like you're just going to make yourself unhappy, and that's not what you want. So that makes sense too. Message heard. I hear ya, I hear ya, I hear ya. And so then you pick a spirit card, which is just going to give you advice. This is something you do at the end of any Deste reading. These are also read in upright and reverse. I tend to, because there's only 4, fan them out and figure out what feels the most strong for me. And here we have Bades or Bedes. Who knows? I need to listen again to Chris's videos in order to get that done. But it's in reverse, and so it's saying things have been difficult, but just have patience. It's the patience card that says, the sun's coming, success is coming, you're moving in the right direction, just be patient. Take care of these things that we said to take care of. Pay attention to people or situations that aren't helpful to you so that you can weed them out quickly, and that way we can avoid that particular warning there. So this was all in all actually a very helpful reading for me, and a good example of how you can read Deste with this particular spread. And again, if you don't read Deste, that's okay. This is a great spread, minus obviously these two cards. This is a great spread for Lenormand as well, when you want a little bit more than a 9 card, but you don't want the full grand tableau. So I hope that you found this helpful and or interesting, and have an absolutely wonderful day.